Welcome. This is a brief tutorial on how to start the Atlas software, and in particular how to start it in such a way that it has access to the auxiliary files that it needs. I'm going to assume you've already installed the Atlas software. Let's take a look. I've installed it in this directory here, and the file that I'm interested in is this one right here called Atlas. If I take a look at that with the file command, I see that it is indeed some sort of executable file, and this is the program I'm interested in running. So let's run it. Let's give the command atlas. Command not found. Well, that's a very trivial error. That's simply because I don't have the current directory in my path. I should have said /atlas. That launches the software. And let's see, I've got a prompt here, Atlas, indicating that it's running. Let's make sure it is really running. 1 = 1 is true. So the software is running, and one of the first things you want to do is load one of the auxiliary files. You want to load the basic file. So the command for loading a file is >, and the file is basic.at. The extension isn't needed, so you just say >basic, and it says failed to open input file basic. This is a very common problem, and the main point of this video is to tell you what to do if this happens. I'm going to give you, there are many solutions. I'm going to give you two. The first one is the simplest, and that's to, when you give the command atlas, to give it with an argument, say --path is equal to atlas, the name of the directory where they're found. So you say --path is equal to atlas scripts. And now I can load this file. If I say >basic, you see it does something. It loaded a bunch of definitions. So now there are a bunch of functions and things defined that weren't before. And it concludes by saying completely read file atlas scripts /basic.at. Okay. Now there are many files you might be interested in loading. I recommend, if you're interested in some of them, you can load the file all, and this will load many, not all of the files, not the sort of more expensive experimental ones, but almost certainly all the ones you're interested in will be loaded by this. You'll notice that it loaded a bunch of files, atlas scripts extended, dual, and then it concluded by saying completely read file atlas scripts /all.at. Okay, so that's the main thing you want to see, is that these scripts are accessible. Okay, so let's quit. Let's take a look at the atlas scripts directory just for a second. So there are many, many files in here with the .at extension, and you want to have them available, and they do various things. There's some descriptions in the files about what they do, but I just wanted to look at the directory to see what's there. Okay, now the disadvantage of the method that I just used is that it only really works from one place. If you're sitting in this directory where you built the software, this will work, but if you wanted to do it from somewhere else, it's more problematic. What you'd really like is a way that you can run the software from anywhere and have the requisite files be available. And the way we recommend you do that is the following. So again, you make sure that you're in the file, in the directory where you compiled the software. In particular, you need to have this make file present. And assuming that you do, you can say make install, and say bindir is equal to $home/bin. And what this says is, please install the software in the directory, my home directory /subdirectory bin. Okay, if you do that, the software will tell you what it did. If you know a little bit of Unix, you can read what it did here and see, but never mind. Let's just go look in the bin directory. I'm going to go to my home directory and then into my bin directory and look what's there. And there's this file atlas. And there's also this file FACO, which is also from the Atlas project. I'm not going to talk about that. But in any event, there's this file atlas, also some other files that were here before. And let's look at the file atlas. Now this is a text file, so I can actually read it. And what this is called a shell script. If you execute this file, atlas, the one in my bin directory, it will execute, that's what this means, it will execute this file, which is the executable file that we looked at a moment ago. This is in the directory where I built the software, and it will append, it will include this path, which gives the complete path name to this atlas scripts directory. And for good measure, it loads the file basic.at. So if you launch the software by giving this command, you'll be in good shape. So let's see how that works. I give the command /atlas, and now it's launched and it's these scripts are available. So for example, let's load the basic script. If you say less than basic, nothing happens. Well, that's because it loaded the basic file already. If you've loaded a file and you load it again, it wisely doesn't repeat itself. It knows that it's already loaded it. If you want to force it to load it, you use two less thans. So for example, if you've edited a file and you want to force a reload, you can do it using this mechanism. So if I say double less than basic, you can see that indeed it is loading this this file, which is to say the AT files are accessible to the software. So for example, I can load all. Okay, so that's fine. And the advantage of this method is that, as I said, this is now accessible from anywhere. So let's go to my home directory, for example, and let's say I want to run the software from here. Well, I give the atlas command, and versus command not found. Well, so this is one other thing that you need, well, you may or may not need to do depending on how your system is set up. And this method that I'm describing now is slightly more complicated, and it's definitely more machine dependent. And so the instructions that I'm about to give work perfectly on my Linux machine. And if you're on a different flavor of Linux or on a Mac, or a flavor of Unix, you'll need to do something possibly slightly different. So let me show you how it works here. The problem is if I give the command which atlas, it returned nothing, meaning that it looked in all of the places it knows to look for executable files and it didn't find it. Well, where does it look? The answer is in the so-called environment variable path, which is accessed this way. And if I look at the path variable, I see that there's user local sbin and user local bin and so on and so forth, but there's nothing about this bin directory in my home directory, /home/jda/bin. So it didn't know to look there. So the last thing that you need to do is you need to change the path variable to tell it to look there. And you want to do this in a configuration file so that you don't have to redo it every time you log on. And the way you do that is, this is one of the things that depends very much on your system. On this flavor of Linux, what we're interested in is the file .profile. And I'm going to edit that file. So, oops, that's not what I want to edit in the window here. Okay, so here's the .profile. There's very little in it. In fact, the main thing it's doing is reading the bash RC file, but that's okay. I want to edit this file to modify my path environment variable. And the way I do that is I say path is equal to, quote, $path. That's the, sorry, I should do it in the other order, $home/bin. That's the directory that I want to add to my path, colon, and then $path for the current path. Okay, so let's check and see that this is right. What this is saying is set the path variable equal to home/bin appended to the beginning of the existing path variable, and the quotes are necessary just because they are. So let's save this file and quit now. And let's look at the file. So we see the command there at the end, and in order to have it take effect, you can give the command source dot profile. Now, next time you log in, it will automatically read it, but that's the way you have it read this file from a running session. And now if you do echo $path, we see that at the beginning of it is this home JDA bin. So now if I give the command atlas, to go, and I can read in, for example, basic file for a second time. And no matter where I am, I can run this. So if I give the command which atlas now, it says wherever you are, the atlas command that it will run is this one found in my home directory /bin/atlas, and that's the one which sets up the path correctly. Okay, now as I said, these last steps depend a little bit on your system, and I can't really give a one-size-fits-all answer. One thing I will say is on the Mac, probably you don't have a .bashrc file, but so what you need to do is create a .bashrc file. Here I called it .bashrc_Mac, but for you, you should just call it .bashrc, and the contents should be /users/ your username bin $path like this, and export path, and approximately speaking, that's what's necessary on a Mac. I recommend that you look at the Atlas website under the software installation. If you click on the software menu, there's instructions for Linux, Mac, and Windows. In particular, the Mac instructions have some more detail on issues special to the Mac. I hope that helps, and that's all for now.